My name is Lisa Clements. I am from Facebook. I actually moved out to the Bay Area almost 2 years ago from Kansas City, go Royals, and to join, sorry, I know that's a sore subject. So Mets, yeah, the year before, don't worry, the year before the Giants, yeah, you trounced us, so you can feel good about that. I came out to join Facebook, and my role is to oversee all the functions of recruitment that don't have to do with the actual hands-on with candidates. So I oversee recruiting events, candidate experience, employment brand, strategic sourcing, employee referrals, recruiting, learning and development. But basically it's all programs and operations. During our time together today, I'm going to share really 3 things so you know what to expect. First, I'm going to give you just a current state of Facebook because it's always fun to share the numbers. It really blows my mind every time I see them. Then I'm going to share a little bit about a pivot that I've had in my thinking around sourcing, and particularly how to report on source and whether or not it's important anymore. It is a challenge that I'm currently noodling on, so to set your expectations, I want to just be fully transparent and say, hey, this is something, with my peers that I'm working on. If you've already figured it out, I'll be very excited. I want you to come up to me afterwards and show me what you did. So I'll share that, and then lastly, I'll pivot to talk about branding activities. Many of the things that we're doing to get candidates into our process and how we're going to engage and influence them through that attraction and sell cycle. And I think I'll leave some time for questions at the end so we can just wrap, have a dialogue. Facebook's mission is to make the world more open and connected. We believe that when people are connected, they get closer to people and the things that they care about. Society benefits from new jobs, opportunities, there's progress. Achieving this mission is at the core of everything we do. We talk about it constantly, day in and day out. What I love about this slide is how it reflects the diversification of the Facebook business. And when you think about the growth of the company, we're currently at over 13,000 employees in 70 countries. And recruiting is a top priority. So things like source or employment branding or how we're innovating are things that I go to bed every night thinking about. Now, candidates are taking more time to get to know the companies that they're considering going to work for. And you've seen this with the rise of Glassdoor and company reviews, interview reviews. You've seen this in the importance when you think about your social media channels. It's so important to have two-way dialogue with those who are commenting on anything that you post. The whole concept of two-way communication overall is critical. So candidates value transparency, although I have to say, sometimes it's a bit too much transparency. I am not kidding. This email was sent Wednesday of this week. Yeah, smiley face. I would not be putting a smiley face. That's all. So yeah. So I got to tell you, sometimes it's a bit too much transparency. But the title of my talk today was "Is Source Relevant?" And I wrote this title aspirationally because I wanted to challenge myself over the last month to answer the question for myself leading up to the conference. Most of our recruiting dashboards at Facebook don't even report on source. Unbelievable, right? For those of us who've been in the industry. When I started wondering why, I realized that I really needed to challenge myself and pivot how I think about source. So I will say that I do believe source is relevant, but what do we do when a majority of our candidates have multiple sources? Which is more and more common today, especially among niche talent pools. It takes up multiple touch points before they actually convert to being an interviewed candidate in your pipelines. We need to be able to engage and influence these candidates throughout the process. So let's take 2 examples. Let's take Nina, who attended a Women in Tech event last year in August And then 6 months later, she applied online through our career site. We ran a targeted Facebook ad that featured one of our software engineers, our female software engineers. She went to the blog, read the thing, said, wow, that is cool. They do really like and promote and encourage and support female engineers at Facebook. So she applied, but it was another 3 months until she attended a software engineering event and then got into the candidate pipeline. Or take Anthony, who applied online from our careers page. 2 months later, attended one of our Tech Talk events, and 7 months later got referred and then put into the process. So you might be asking yourself, why didn't Nina or Anthony get into the process back in August or back in June when we first found out about them, right? And I'm going to tell you, I think there are a variety of potential answers here. It's very possible that Nina back in August wasn't ready to change jobs then. It's very possible that Anthony applied online, but he didn't quite apply to the right role. He was like a fit for role 1, but he applied for role 1C, you know, those shades of roles. It's also very possible that a recruiter had an overflowing requisition bucket and simply closed the rec before they got time to go through all their candidates. So, and we know that happens more often than we'd like to admit. So if Nina and Anthony are both hired, how do you record the source? I have to give another caveat to say that there's a lot of talk and a lot of great work being done out there on fostering talent communities, incubating talent. So another thing you might say is you'd look at this slide and you'd go, well, how come or shouldn't Nina and Anthony have gotten put into one of our talent communities and we would have been fostering communication with them all through this time? Even then, I see companies that are at very differing levels of success with talent communities, figuring out which content to push to which audiences, at which frequency, etc. So then I'm back to my question, well, how do I report on source here? Do I report on source based on how I first came to know about the candidate, the left-hand side, because that's when they first entered our database? Or do I report on source on the right-hand side because that was the source that ultimately got them to the role that they interviewed for? And so what I'm doing right now, and this is the part where I can say, I don't have a fancy graph I'm going to show you and say, I've solved this problem. Here's all you, this is what you do, everyone. I will show you, here's where I'm going. Here's where the direction that I'm leading right now, which is, I believe what I need to do is modify our reporting to show the source, the data, the source. But I'm going to start looking at the sequence of the sources. I'm going to start looking at the time delays in between those sources. And then I need to measure the depth of engagement at each of those touch points. Now, the more that I can understand those 4 characteristics, the sequence, the delay, what kind of engagement's happening at each of these steps, I think I'll be able to do a better job with branding and targeting the types of events or activities that are going to pull candidates into our process, hopefully quicker. If there's anything I can do to shorten that timeline, from a 9-month timeline down to a 6-month timeline even, that's gravy. That's all goodness. Each one of those contacts on that previous slide represents an interaction with a candidate that's part of your sales cycle. So what I wanted to do now, and I'll wrap up this section by saying, this is what I'm working on today. I'm not coming to you as the expert, having, as I said, having solved all the problems. If you've made progress on this, or you go, oh yeah, we have a report that's showing all this, I'd love to talk to you. I'd love to talk to you because this is the problem I'm going to solve. And so if you want to keep in touch, I'm totally game to do that too. Because once I solve it, I'm happy to share, hey, this is how we ended up getting the histograms and the line graphs and all that to actually tell the story. You can tell that I'm not the analytics person. I hire analytics, yes. So with that, I'm going to transition into the next part of what I'm going to talk about today. We actually recently launched a brand new career site about 6 months ago, 6, 7 months ago. And for the first time, it was mobile enabled. Yep. And so we finally got a mobile enabled career site. Yes. You can now apply via mobile on our career site, which is awesome. And we're building on that. So just within the last 6 months, we've added a benefits tab. We've added a blog tab called Facebook Life. You'll see it in a second. And we're building on our diversity and inclusion tab. So we have a lot of work to do there still. The delicate dance we're always doing is wanting to be very clean, crisp, clear in our communications, and balancing that tension with providing all the information we could possibly provide about Facebook in one spot, right? It's that tension that we're constantly riding the wire on. We also utilize Facebook pages. Somebody yesterday mentioned their company Facebook careers page, which I was like, yes, don't know who, you're awesome. We have Facebook careers pages by region. So we do like EMEA, APAC, North America. And on those pages, we not only do our own custom content, but we curate content from other sites and then reshare. Next, we utilize our own platform. And this is something I'm going to spend some time on because it's something that, for me, is very innovative in this space. When I came to Facebook, it was all about LinkedIn. Everything we did was LinkedIn. And LinkedIn is great. But the more I learned about the Facebook ad tool and the targeting, I was blown away. And I was like, what are we doing on LinkedIn? We could do this too, and it's cheaper. So I'll talk a little bit about that. Now, I still need my LinkedIn partnership, don't get me wrong. I love those guys, and we continue to work together. But I'm trying to figure out where to spend the money. Like, when do I spend my money on LinkedIn versus when do I spend my money on other methods? So another dance you're all very familiar with. Instagram, we have an Instagram handle called @FacebookLife. This is a site where we curate content from our employees. So they hashtag their photos, we see the photos, and then we choose the ones that we're gonna share out, and we give @mentions to the people who posted. So that's fun. When you get out your Insta later, because you're cool like that, go ahead and follow Facebook Life. You'd be like, I know that. We talked about that. All right. Next, we also have company profiles on Glassdoor and LinkedIn. What's interesting about Glassdoor is this last year I've been working really hard to maximize ROI on Glassdoor. They're great to work with. So what we're doing is we're responding to comments, to reviews. We're responding to interview reviews. We're trying to get the most out of using that channel as another channel for transparency. Like, here we are, we want to engage, we want to have a conversation with you candidates. Oh, you had a bad interview experience? We're really sorry, we're going to take the feedback, we're going to improve, we're going to do better. LinkedIn, many of the things you guys probably do as well. Then internationally, there are lookalike sites to Glassdoor. In Korea, it's Job Planet. If you go to their site, it is the exact same color scheme even. Like, the font's the same, the color's the same. I've told Robert Honan at Glassdoor, dude, they're ripping off your site. He's like, I can't do anything about it. So anyway, there's sites like that, though, that you need to take advantage of from a global perspective. And then videos. If you've listened at all to Mark Zuckerberg talk, we had a big F8 developers conference a month ago, and video is talked about all the time. And this is something that I'm really thankful for, because I was laying in bed about, I don't know, 7-8 months ago, and I was thinking about the team and growing the employment brand team, and I had a role open for a writer, a content writer, because I was like, well, we got to tell stories. We got to tell stories. I need a writer who can write and get the right tone and persuade. And then I was thinking, like, what are you doing? You work for Facebook. You're going to hire a writer? Are you kidding me? And so then it was like, no, you need a videographer. Everything's video, right? So is writing important? Yeah, someone's got to write all those captions. But and I was an English major, so I'm all for writers, but it's all about video now, right? It's all about video. So that's a strategic decision that we made. I closed the writer position, frustrated my recruiter, gave him a new job description, right? And immediately went to town on that. And then, of course, we leverage other sites like GitHub, Muse, Stack, a lot of sites that you're probably familiar with if you're in tech. Muse is great for females, by the way. They have a large female audience. So that's a site to leverage if you haven't yet. Now, I want to talk a little bit then about how we're leveraging the Facebook ads platform. And I risk sharing this with you because it's going to sound like I'm doing a Facebook pitch. You're going to be like, oh yeah, she's sales. I'm not sales, man. I'm recruiting. I'm just telling you what we're doing in recruiting that's leading to some results for us that's relatively cheap. Because I still like saving a dollar just like the next girl. With Facebook ads, the ads platform has really evolved over the last couple years. There's ways you can target your audiences. So you can do a custom audience. So let's say you have a talent community of mobile engineers in your CRM that you want to send ads to. You can give Facebook the names and the emails. They do not come to me. They go to your salesperson. And they will target ads specifically to those individuals if they have Facebook accounts. So you can do custom. You can target by demographic, age, location, interests, gender, marital status. It's freaking scary. All of you have access to this, but you can target very specifically based on demographics. You never see user data, I can tell you that, so it's all anonymized. Here's a piece of real estate you may not be aware that you have. On your Facebook page, your careers page, do you see that left line right there? Where you see about, apps, photos? If you scroll down, you'll get to a notes section. So for those of you who have smaller businesses, smaller companies that you're supporting in particular, this is something, a trick I'd like to point out for you. Notes are free. You can add them. It's like a microsite. It's like a blog entry. So our microsite, if you clicked on notes, do you see that first title there says, Moving Fast, Mobile Engineer Adam. Here's what that page looks like. Right? Completely free. I just had to load the content, put the writing, and then on that page, here are some of the jobs to work with Adam, and link directly to the job post where they can apply. So the ad doesn't go to the careers page, it goes directly to the notes page. So if they're interested in what they see in the ad, they click to the notes page and there's, hey, I'm Adam, here's what it's like to work here. They do have to read on the blog stuff. That is a little harder than video. Reading is hard. But it does get them to learning more. It's all about the transparency. So we've made a brand decision at Facebook. We feature our people. If someone leaves, then we have to update our content. It's an intensive process, but luckily we don't have to update that often. The other thing you can do if you want to run ads to direct people to content is you can use your blog page on your career site. So this is just an example of our header in facebook.com/careers. This is our header, and you'll see under Facebook Life, there's your blog entry, and hopefully you're using some of the real estate in your blog to list jobs related to whatever content the blog is talking about. Last note on this is we also have our audience network. So you probably know Facebook is one of the largest single sign-on providers. You see whenever you, like Papa John's, create your account with Facebook, or maybe nobody goes to Papa John's. I didn't see any recognition at all. What, Pizza Hut? Are we a Pizza Hut audience? Really? No. So we have a lot of apps that tie into Facebook that use our connection. And so when you do ad targeting on our network, you can also select to reach the audience network. So any apps that tie into Facebook that have your target audience will advertise whatever you're advertising on Facebook on their sites, in their apps. So I just learned about that 2 weeks ago. Not joking. So that's kind of cool, because I'm like, oh, what? So like we're exponentially, and we're still paying that mobile ad. This one we're running right now, we're spending $1,000. $1,000. You typically don't run an ad for more than 2 weeks. So you go, oh, I'm going to send $1,000 budget. Another one we have is going to marketing science. And then the production engineering one, as I said, we spent $1,400 on it in 12 days, 21 applications. So I know it's a lot of talking about the Facebook product, but it's actually one of the things I'm really excited about right now, because I, prior to coming to Facebook, never really focused on using the platform for recruiting. And so it is where we're innovating right now. It is where we're trying to, which is hilarious, right? Because you'd think, at least, well, you should have been doing that 2 years ago. Yeah, don't tell my boss. No, we're getting there. It just takes time and it takes people to do it, right? So you got to grow your team. You got to have people who can do the work. But if you're worried about budget, don't let that be a constraint for you. So with that, let me wrap it up and open it up for questions. Hopefully, you all have seen the Facebook reactions, and I'm hoping your reaction to this presentation is more on the left-hand side of the slide than the right-hand side of the slide. But to recap, we talked about Facebook, just a current state, some numbers. We talked about a current challenge, sourcing, that I'm trying to figure out how do we report on these multiple touch points. And then we talked about what we're doing in branding, and how we're using our own platform to try to engage and influence candidates through the sales cycle. So I hope that was helpful. I'd love to take any questions you have. I see you.
I'm going to be your co-presenter today.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm back. Okay, so to link part 2 with part 3 a little bit.
Yeah.
So you had some fun numbers, super secret numbers. Nobody took a picture of that, so don't even stress.
I don't think you did.
But that's a source too, right? So you said 29 people applied or whatnot. They looked at the video, they clicked on the blog, they read the blog, or they just skimmed the blog. Then they clicked on another ad that had them apply, and that magically went to your ATS, and it magically knew that it was from X, from the Y to the Z, and your ATS is just really good at tracking that, because mine probably would be like, whoa, I don't know.
Great question. How do we track that as a source? There are tracking pixels that you can put on the ad. So it's what marketers do for most, I think, generally out there, but we haven't done it in recruiting a lot, is they do tracking pixels so they can see when the click comes to your site, what it came from. So we are recording with the tracking pixel.
End there for us because our ATS isn't always like connected all the way through. So we'll be like, yeah, they clicked on the apply, but did they really end up finishing the apply? That's a lot of times where it drops off when we're using like a different vendor. But maybe I'm just not fancy.
No, I think you point out a brilliant issue, and that is to get this, so you have your tracking pixel, you can tell the results of your ad, you can tell if they're leading to conversions. Does that automatically get tagged on the Salesforce source? It's not. Because when they apply, they're going into the sourcing tool, which is the CRM side of things. So we have to go in and manually tag the people in the CRM with a certain tag, and then you'd have to manually enter it in Salesforce, which is, yeah. If I could solve the whole recruiting tool solution issue, I would be on a beach in the Bahamas. Yeah.
Okay. My question's for you, and also whoever the panel brought it up earlier this morning. When it comes to responding to Glassdoor comments, and what sort of guidance are you getting from corporate? Are you allowed to respond to anything? Because at this point, we're not responding. So if there's a negative response, does it need to go through some sort of ethics committee, or what's the timing of the response, and what kind of approvals do you need to get to do those responses?
To do the Glassdoor responses, we're picking, and we just set a very simple goal for ourselves because we're a very lean team, and we said we're going to respond to five employee reviews and 5 interview or candidate reviews a month. So we just picked 5. No reason. You could rationalize more or less depending on whatever your favorite number is. The first 3 months we did it, I actually sent the drafted responses. So I had my content or channel manager write the responses, then I edited, and I actually sent it to our head of HR and said, because it's the first time we're doing this, right? Like very cautious, want to hit the right tone, don't want to come across like we sincerely care, we're humble, but then not flippant, not too surface, so you've got to go back to what your brand attributes are. So like for Facebook, we're bold, but we're humble, we're open, we build social good. Like, so when I read what we're drafting, I'm always thinking, is this open? Is this humble? Is this about how, does this build good in the world? Does this so that's what I'm checking against. And then I had our head of HR review, and then she'd come back and she'd simplify a little bit more even, because we were still in our marketing brains, and we're sorry to hear about that. Our benefits program can offer you that assistance, right? Like we wanted to we have a solution for you. And she was like, no, it gets too salesy. Then it doesn't feel authentic. And authentic is another key word to describe our voice. So after that 3 months, I was like, okay, I think it was just a matter of learning and understanding the tone, and then now we're on our own to do it. We did let, of course, our head of PR know that we were doing it. And I think she might have been on the first 1 or 2. But she was like, yeah, that's no worries. You guys know the tone, yeah.